Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Bhairava, Jai Madara. So today I will speak on a very specific topic, which is basically the importance of Jyotisha in the life of an Upasaka. So the context of this is that there were some claims, and people keep sending me emails. My team goes through those mails, and also from the Telegram group. So there are people who have been sending questions. Basically, it seems there is some claims by some people that there is no need for Jyotisha and one should completely skip Jyotish and focus entirely on sadhana. While it sounds very romantically nice, but the reality is completely different. What I have seen mostly is that those who have no knowledge of Jyotish, in order to hide their own deficiency for that matter, because it is clearly a deficiency, not knowing Jyotish properly is a serious deficiency in today's times. If specifically somebody is in the path of Devata Upasana, if you're part of yoga, that's still understandable. But if you're in the path of Devata Upasana and you don't know Jyotish, that's an handicap. So in order to hide that handicap, they self-project a false confidence that you don't need Jyotish, just doing sadhana is good enough. If that were the case, then by now, in 6,000, 7,000 years of human history and Indian history for that matter, people would have bypassed Jyotish completely. It doesn't work that way. In fact, Jyotish is such an important aspect of life, of sadhana, of the Vedas, that it has been given the status of a Vedanga, which means that without a knowledge of Jyotisha, you cannot even study the Vedas. So there are, among the various Vedangas that are there, the Angas, the limbs of the Vedas, Jyotisha is considered to be an eye of the Vedas. Eye means it gives you vision, gives you sight. So the importance of Jyotisha comes even more prominently when you read the sadhana texts, tantras and all that. For example, in the Ugratara Kavacham, there are specific nakshatras and details mentioned when if you do those prayogas, do sadhanas, certain kinds of results will come. So eventually, if you don't know Jyotisha, Jyotisha is nothing but a map of the karmas of a particular place, time, or individual. So, if you are not aware of the karma and you are just trying to wade through, path through the jungle of events and reactions and actions that are happening in your life, you will be completely blinded. I mean, unless you are a soul which is like a rishi, genuine rishi, not somebody who claims self-proclaimed rishis and all that. One of the Vedic rishis, even them also, they also refer to Jyotisha. So unless you are that kind of a pure soul, you are very likely to go haywire here and there. So any claims that a sadhak doesn't need Jyotish is absolute nonsense, first of all. One statement answer is that it should be completely rejected, because that is not what the experience of Devata Upasana, historical experience of Devata Upasana tells us. So somebody of the caliber, even of Yukteshwargiri Maharaj, who was a direct disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya, and Yukteshwargiri was a person who could enter into the states of Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I mean, not even, ordinary caliber, just some random yogi. No. We are talking about some of the highest spiritual people. He used to still refer to Jyotisha even at a very late age, and this is recorded in the texts of Paramahamsa Yogananda. So Jyotish does not need anybody's validation. It's already well established as a spiritual art. The caution that needs to be followed is that you do not constantly get up in the morning and start checking which graha is going which side, because that is going to weaken your mind. So your aim is that you should have a singular pointed devotion towards your Ishta Devata. So if you're worshipping Tara, then Tara. If you're worshipping Bhairava, then Bhairava. You have to believe that there are 9 grahas, and beyond the 9 graha, there's Anugraha. Anugraha can change everything. In order to do that, however, you need very intense amount of self-surrender and self-sacrifice, not tapasya alone. Just because by the power of dint of tapasya in this Kali Yuga, you will not be able to please any deity, because everybody is corrupted and flawed. This is the first principle of Kali Yuga. Because that is the case, therefore you will need to have what is called a path of surrenderance, which is tempered, or which is built up through a ritualistic process, because the deities also love, specifically some deities love that Karmakanda that is being done. So there is a confluence of Karmakanda After karmas you do, Karmakanda, whether you are doing japa of the deity or puja of the deity, or whatever way, or interacting or doing seva of a yantra, etc. Over time, this will lead to jnana. As you keep doing it, it will change it will cause purification in your chitta. All the different kinds of impurities, the karmic stains will reduce. There will be clarity in your chitta. Once the clarity comes, then only the impression, the resonance of the deity will fall inside you. And then from there, your actual bhakti will start. So all these things are tied together. What Jyotisha can do is, and it does very brilliantly, is that it tells you that what are the basic guidances of the times. Suppose there are certain doshas in a horoscope, certain kinds of difficulties that are going to happen due to planets. That is precisely why none less than Rishi Parashara, one of the Vedic, greatest of Vedic rishis, tells us that when this kind of graha combinations are there, this is the kind of sadhana you have to do in order to minimize the effect of the grahas. And it is absolutely important. Only a complete, um, an egoistic fool, I say this because it's one thing to say that no, I don't, believe in Jyotisha and just sadhana. It's another thing to be that pure a soul who is really not affected by the positives and negatives of life. Yes, if a person has become completely sthita prajna, as the Gita explains, then it is different. But that is a state so high that I have not even seen three people in my life who can be claimed as complete state of Sthitaprajna, where they are not affected by pleasure, not affected by pain, they are not affected by criticism, they are not affected by praise. It's very rare. It's actually a very high spiritual state. When that is there, yes. But for everybody else, a verbal claim means nothing. So if you are an individual who gets affected by what is happening around you, it is affected by good and the bad that is coming, praise and criticism that is coming, then 100% you are at the influence and the mercy of your own karmas. In that case, Jyotish becomes a guiding light of how to reach, how to optimize your karmas in a way that it helps you progress faster. What are the things that you can change? What are the things that you cannot change and you have to accept? Jyotish gives you this guidance very brilliantly. And that is why this divine art was given to us by none other than the rishis. It is not something that randomly came up. It is the Rishi Vidya, rishis who gave us this knowledge, precisely for this reason, that you take it as a broad guidance. For example, there's a certain graha combination happening at this point. So this is the kind of upasana if you do, then it helps you overcome this challenge. So that is why this is given. That is why it is given for the benefit of the world, and especially also for the benefit of upasakas. I mean, I have not seen any high caliber, genuine upasaka who says that there is no need for Jyotish. I mean, really, somebody who has no clue, who's perhaps handicapped by his or her lack of knowledge, who believes in such fantastic ideas and spreads this kind of rubbish actually. So, have a clear understanding of Jyotisha, use the knowledge of Jyotisha correctly for pariharams, along with worshipping your Ishtadevata. These two go parallel. So as you go higher in sadhana, in fact in Tantra sadhana, once you have dikshas like Krama Diksha and all that, you have to worship multiple deities, not just one. Okay, so all these are complementary deities, but all of them get tied together in your Ishtadevata, whoever is your Ishtadevata. So the final puja happens when there is a specific mantra, when there is a way in which we say, imagine that all the deities, all the grahas, all the rishis, all the beings are projection of the Ishtadevata only. And Ishtadevata becomes very universal. It is not just one deity, it becomes a Nirakar and Sakar both. It becomes everything in the universe. So therefore, because it is everything in the universe, therefore even the grahas are projection of your Ishtadevata. Even the grahas are functioning by the order of your Ishtadevata and giving you the karmic results. And in order, how do you bypass that? That is where you have the idea of pariharams. And what are the, not just any pariharam, but basically, if there is a specific kind of graha formation that is happening, then this type of deity, this type of karma, if you do, it reduces the impact to some degree. So when people of the caliber of Yukteshwargiri, who used to enter into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, of all things, I mean, there's no higher state than that, used to take recourse to Jyotisha once in a while. So there is no reason why an average caliber Upasaka in today's times should ignore Jyotisha. So that's all for now. Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Matara, Jai Bhairava.